Hello everybody, another roster breakdown video. It's me, Hazer. How are you all doing? I'm doing great, thanks for asking. Today we're going to be taking a look at the Camelot Kings, which consist of Variety in the solo lane, CaptainTwig in the jungle, BigManTingz in the mid lane, Genetics in the support role, Netrioid in the ADC role, and Biggy is the coach to finish out the roster. And from what I hear, he was kind of the one who built up the roster as well. He kind of, I think he was hanging out with Variety, and they decided they wanted to play with Genetics, and then I think from there they just kind of picked up these players one by one. And I've ended up with a pretty good roster in my opinion. I like this team. I think it's maybe gonna fly slightly under the radar for how good it has the potential of being. I definitely think they could come out swinging as well. They're a team that has the potential to start the season very well. So let's get down into it. Let's kind of break it down, I suppose. The big question mark, the one that you've got to say is a lot of the potential of the team rests on is how Twig does going back to the jungle. Obviously switched to mid lane for one season, which was last season, played pretty well in mid. It has been one season, and he's switching back to jungle now. I think he has the potential to do really well on this team and the potential to do really well in the jungle. I actually think the meta right now might kind of suit him. I think there's a lot of stuff you can play in the jungle, which is going to be good for Twig. Things like Osiris, No Meme, I do think will be pretty good in the jungle right now. I think there's room for creativity. There's room to be a bit more support-ish, a bit more tanky, which I think is the metas that Twig thrives in. I think hyper carry metas are where Twig's maybe not quite as good. I think he always wants to build these hybrid builds, and when it comes down to sort of a Cuvo Fred adapting Scream meta, that's when Twig's probably not going to do so well. I'd say right now we're not in one of those, though. There's a lot of great hybrid items, so I think going back into the jungle role, it's a good time for Twig to do so. Another thing to mention about Twig is that Twig, I believe, will be living with his fiancée, and the other 5 members will all be, I don't know if they'll be in 2 apartments or one house as a group, but they'll be living relatively together either way, and Twig will be off on his own with his, well, not on his own, with his fiancée. So I wonder if that could affect the team at all. That might affect their sort of team bonding a little bit. The rest of the guys going to be hanging out all the time. So it might leave Twig a little bit on the fringes. You can see that being a potential problem with this team. Another thing I think could be a problem with this team is they have a lot of strong personalities. I don't know, I just don't know a lot about Netrioid, but I feel like Genetics, Big Man, Twig, and Variety, all pretty big personalities, all quite, I would imagine they'll have strong feelings about the game and want to push their way to play and able to, I don't know, they could definitely get annoyed at each other. So I think that's something that Biggy's going to have to manage and make sure doesn't cause any problems with this team. 4 UK players, which is interesting. Netrioid and Genetics pairing up in the duo lane. Netrioid, pretty, like, just super solid, pretty meta dependent. Really, I think he's really mechanically very good, Netrioid. I don't think he puts many steps wrong mechanically. And Genetics, a very creative supporter who's going to want to try a lot of things and do a lot of things. And I wonder, him and Twig both sort of quite experimental. And I wonder, this team could definitely get lost in the sauce a bit, but they could also come up with some really good ideas. You can maybe worry that I'm just checking that I'm recording. I am. That's good. 4 minutes in. I have gone to record a video before and started streaming, so let's try not to do that. But I you know, Twig's whipped out things like the Kuzumbo jungle before. Genetics has played Afro support. You know, that you could definitely see these guys doing a lot of things and being very creative. And you just got to hope that they are at least held in check a little bit. There's maybe someone there to sort of sanity check all these ideas that they have. They don't bounce off each other and go into the stratosphere. Although I don't actually think Twig is that wacky a player. I think generally the stuff that Twig plays is always good. He only played Kuzumbo jungle once, and it was when we'd already qualified on Obey, I'm sure. It definitely has that creative flair. Variety as well. Quite a creative player. Will play off-meta picks in the solo, and this is quite an off-meta team, come to think of it, except for maybe Netrioid. I don't know about Biggy. I don't know. Again, with coaches, I find it hard. I know that Biggy as a coach strikes me as a very calming figure, a very soothing figure. He will solve problems and calm everybody down. He's never going to be somebody causing people to fall out or anything like that, or that are really, really shouting at somebody or telling somebody off too much. I don't think he's there. And I think in that sense, he suits this team pretty well. I said before, there's a lot of big personalities and a lot of people who might get, wound up or overexcited. And Biggy's going to be there to sort of calm that down and chill them all out with his lovely Aussie accent. So, yeah, I think he's a good fit for this team. I think this team is well put together. What else have we got going on with this team? I mean, BigManTingz, another guy who does like a weird off-meta pick from time to time, although we didn't really see it that much last year, did we? The BigManTingz Chak, Sun Wukong mid. Didn't see too much of it last year. Maybe this year he'll be unleashed a little bit more. We shall see. I guess another question mark is Netrioid. How's he going to get on with this team? Obviously, he was on a Spanish-speaking team last year, so are there... I think he speaks pretty good English. I don't really think there will be a language barrier. Maybe it'll take a little while for him to get used to Variety's accent, but I think that'll probably be the worst of it. Twig's pretty well spoken. BigManTingz, Genetics. Maybe Genetics has a bit of an accent. I don't know. I think Variety's the only one with a relatively strong accent in any way, being from the Wirral. He's from near Liverpool anyway. Maybe he's just from Liverpool. But yeah, he's got that Scouse accent. But Netrioid, I guess, being on a whole new team with a whole new group of players who he probably doesn't know too well. I don't know if Netrioid is pals with Big Man or Twig or Biggy or Variety. I wouldn't imagine so. Wouldn't imagine they know each other too well personally, so it's going to be an interesting thing for him moving in with these guys and getting to know them all. I feel like the rest of them know each other. At least Genetics has teamed with Variety before. Genetics and Big Man know each other really well, and everybody kind of knows Twig. Twig's been around for so long. Netrioid's going to be the kind of new boy, so hopefully they get on well. It would suck for him to feel like kind of the odd one out, so I feel like that's a thing that they've got to like actually work at a little bit and make sure that they're doing. And I think it's the same with Twig. You don't want Twig to end up the odd one out because he's not living with everybody, even if it's kind of inevitable that he will be left out of certain things and maybe less pals with the rest of the players than they are with each other if they're living together. But these two, they have the potential to end up falling outside the group socially, and maybe that could have a bad effect on the team in some way or another. If you're closer friends with somebody, it's a lot easier to speak to them about the game and to sort out problems than if you are kind of uncomfortable with them. So that's maybe something that they need to make sure doesn't become an issue. They need to stick together and get to know each other well and make sure that Netrioid and Twig, neither of them's kind of left outside the group. They're both they both made to feel comfortable, and everybody's comfortable with them, and everybody can speak their mind without worrying they're going to overstep a line or offend somebody or ruin something for the team. So yeah, I think that's going to be a key point for this team, is making sure that Twig living elsewhere and Netrioid kind of being the new boy in the team, just are involved and feel good about the team. Is there much else to say about them? I'm trying to think. It's interesting that we have 4 English players on one team, not just 4 UK, 4 English players. So it's kind of crazy that Smite's one of these esports where we actually have UK players. There aren't many UK players in like any other esport, really. There's a few in CS, but you never get it to the extent that you do in Smite. So that's a cool thing personally. Obviously I don't love the English, but I do. It's nice to see UK players at least doing well. Yeah. TMI? I don't know. Getting into it a bit too much there. That's going to be it. The Camelot Kings. I'm excited to see them play. I think, again, Twig's going to be the key player, making sure that his transition back into the jungle goes smoothly and that he's comfortable and that he's playing the game enough. And if he gets off to a rough start, I could definitely see things going badly for this roster and roster changes happening and him being the one on the chopping block, just because he's going to be living away from the team And if he's doing poorly and you come out of scrims and Twig's had a bad day, or he's not doing well after SPL and you can't sit and talk to him about it, and they go away in their little groups in the houses and they talk about it, it could spiral. So, yeah, there you go. That's my thoughts on the Camelot Kings. Leave a like, please. Subscribe, maybe. I don't know. If you wanna, if you like it. There'll be more of these coming. I'm gonna do one for every team. But that's gonna be it for the Kings. So, yeah. I'll see you next time. I'm gonna be putting out 2 of these a day, I think. For the foreseeable, well, I mean, until I run out of teams, which is like 4 days. But 2 of these a day until all the teams are done, if I can keep it up. So yeah, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye.